Greetings, friends, and welcome back to Apocalypse Prevention Agency. I'm Lillian, and today I'll be outlining some more of my main characters in the big story that's been a work in progress since high school. If you want to check out the part 1 video and meet my protagonist Eddie and his siblings, the link is in the description. We'll start today with Alden Vortasia. Alden started off as a member of the introvert gang, who we'll meet the rest of in a moment, but he was always a bit of a third wheel, never content with the humble musings of his friends. To quote the second musical version of the story I started writing one time, "We were the introvert gang, trying to stay far forever it was. Puzzles and board games, watching Horace the Vampire. Dating, drinking, partying can get a crucifix to the face. Safety's contentment, if there's fire, stay away. Lived in a world of books and raisin cookies, and sure it was sweet and all, but I wanted to find a new identity. One that was based on more than just my friends' interests. It was time to be cool, like Edmund, he was cool, nearly burning down the school." So, essentially, he joins Eddie's friend group, which includes Lana and Kane, who I'll introduce at the end of the video, at the start of high school, which he prefers because it's more exciting, but he's still a bit of an outcast because instead of being an extrovert among introverts, now he's the quiet, smart, rational one amongst a bunch of crazy rebels. His intelligence is sort of abused as well because he has to cover for his friends, even write their assignments. This group forms the band the Flat Jupiter Society, where Alden plays violin. At some point, he becomes a mad scientist and invents time travel. So yeah, that took a left turn with that last sentence. Anyway, no point elaborating on that, am I right? Phil and Helena make up the other members of the introvert gang. Phil Vortasia is Alden's adopted brother who came from an abusive home and as a result struggles a lot with mental health issues. He uses comedy as a coping mechanism and particularly makes a lot of jokes about the in-universe young adult series, The Werewolf Vampire Boyfriend. He is quite shut off from most people, but he is very close to Helena. Helena is the middle Losnadol child and is quite self-conscious and insecure and nervous and awkward. She tends to overthink how people might judge her, thus she prefers the comfort and safety of just hanging out with her best friend, Phil. One of the first songs I wrote for my characters was a song by Helena for Phil that talks about how she's always going to be there for him, that they can hold on to the past, to their innocence, that it's worth fighting for. So I guess she's afraid of change, afraid of the morbidity of adulthood, because she rescued him once from the dark, scary world and is afraid of watching him be dragged back there. "We'll still be curled up in the corner, flipping through our favorite novels, tangled up in wool when I try to knit you a scarf, burning our fingers on a tray of raisin biscuits. Racing down the hallway to be the first to class." Hopefully the singing sounds okay. I'm just doing it as I read the script. One day I want to actually make these songs properly, but I know nothing about music production or making anything sound good. Madeline is the youngest Losnadol kid, the resident maths nerd, though the running joke is that everyone's a maths nerd except Eddie. Like Phil and Helena, she is very closed off from everyone, but unlike them, she doesn't really have anyone to confide in. She briefly makes friends with Eddie at a point where he's lost his friends after they're forced to work together for a drama assignment. She starts to consider dating him, but later designates him as her arch nemesis, seeing him as stupid and arrogant because of his poor grades and tendency to be outlandish and attention-seeking, doing things like jumping on a table and singing in the library, committing arson, backflipping at assembly. She is worried of straying too far from the comfort of solitude and not needing to have any accountability. She likes the ability to blend in with the crowd, be unnoticed, which she'd never get with Eddie. She is conflicted because she does want friends, she does like him, but she doesn't like the sacrifices she'd have to make, even though everyone already knows who she is now anyway because of him, or at least that's what it feels like. Cordelia is the oldest Loznadal kid. She's the business-oriented one, driven by the pursuit of power and doesn't really care about morality. She sees herself as a bit more of a puppet master. She enjoys messing with people, designing pyramid schemes for fun. That's more of a persona she puts on. She is actually quite intelligent and sensible when it comes to business and politics, though she ends up taking on much more than she can handle, runs too quickly to get to the top without considering how far the fall could be. She becomes increasingly conditioned to success and increasingly afraid of failure, and begins to regret how easily she is able to manipulate people. Lana Shigari was Eddie's closest friend since second grade and his girlfriend for most of high school. Her parents' divorce when she was 7 influenced her to be disillusioned and angry, becoming the tough kid at school, pushing the boys off the climbing wall while really she was trying to fight the feelings of roboticness, of being used by her parents as a tool to attack each other. She was initially resentful of Eddie because he was in the in-group with the girls who could cartwheel, despite recognizing that they were bullying him and treating him as inferior. Lana, too, saw him as a crybaby, even after he stood up to her and braved the climbing wall. It was only after the girls fully rejected him that she began to regret her actions and befriend him, giving him her favourite unicorn toy that was her emotional support because she saw him as her new unicorn. Later in high school, their relationship becomes more shaky and estranged as they grew in different directions. Now he was the one who felt angry and inferior in his family, who was reckless while still being naive and idealistic, switching between happy-go-lucky and self-hating, while she considered herself to be the realist, disconnected from emotion, disillusioned by the perpetuations of fairy tale romance, believing the world is harsh or mundane and youth doesn't last forever. You just have to accept that. Ironically, she is desperate for Eddie to keep the silver lining on his perspective and tries to push him away because she thinks that would give him the best chance at freedom, that it would make him happier if he could follow his childhood dreams of being an actor or a rock star, failing to take into account that he's realizing that dreams can change and adulthood doesn't have to be a burden. Her and Eddie both sing in their band, the Flat Jupiter Society, the one that I mentioned way back at the start. Kane Shigari is Lana's younger brother. He plays cello in the band, but he's more passionate about adventuring, hiking, camping, exploring, that sort of thing, living it rough and tough. He is Eddie's best friend, but also at one point they were sort of enemies. He and Eddie both have a passion for adventure, but it's expressed in quite different ways. Eddie's all about rushing full force into things. Kane takes the time to prepare to make sure he's got what he needs to survive. And that applies to everything from actual adventuring to something like cello. Eddie wants to speed through. He's frustrated he's not getting good fast enough. Kane's willing to put in the time and practice to cultivate his talent. Kane's more likely to get angry and pick fights when he's upset, whereas Eddie's more likely to sing to vent emotional frustration, or play with fire, or hurt himself. Well, I didn't mean to end that on such a depressing note, but that just finishes us up for today. It's pretty much all my main characters there. I'm glad I established Eddie as the protagonist in the previous episode because it really helps to have a point of comparison when explaining each of the characters because they all make the most sense in the context of the story and in relation to each other. I hope that you'll stick around because I promise I actually have some big plans for the story I'm working on. My comic is going strong at over 60 pages and I'm hoping to work out where I can start putting it online soon. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a wonderful day.